beautiful. Everybody looks beautiful. And thank you so much for coming and joining this wonderful day of inspiration. Before we start, I'd like to say a chapter of Tehillim for Refuah Shalema for Menucha Rachel Basgila Elka. And all of you can have in mind anybody else that needs a speedy recovery. Lamatzech Mizmor LeDavid, Ya'ancha Adonai Yom Zara Yisagevcha Shem Elohei Yaakov, Yishlach Ezra Mikodesh V'tzion Yisradecha, Yizkar Kol Menchasecha V'yalascha Yidash Nasela, Yitain L'chol Kilabecha V'chol Atzascha Yimalei, V'ranadav Yishuasecha V'shem Eloheinu Nigdal Yimalei Adonai Kol Mishalasecha, Ataya Dati Ki Hoshia Adonai Mishifo Ya'anehu Mishmei Kadsho B'Gvuros Yesha Yimino Eile Barechev V'Eile Basusa V'Anachnu B'Shem Adonai Eloheinu Nazkir Hem Akaru V'Nafalu V'Anachnu Kamnu V'Nisada Adonai Hoshia HaMelech Ya'anehu V'Yom Kareinu. As we're wishing Refuah Shalema to Menucha Rachel Basgila Elka, I don't know if anybody noticed outside they're selling necklaces that's to help with the cost of the medical bills. The girls will be there until around 11, so if anybody wants to go and purchase a necklace to just help with some of those costs, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, you might see on your tables something that we started. It's called the Haley Project. It's in the merit of Shana, Beth, and Shelley. It's for Haley Tates. And yesterday somebody actually asked me, they didn't understand what appreciation and maximizing the gift of time was. Basically, when we're given a gift, if we take that gift and we just put it in a drawer, or we don't use that gift properly, then we're not really showing our appreciation. Every morning, upon waking up, we say, Moda Ani, Lefanecha Melachai V'Kayom, Shechazata Bi Nishmasi V'Chaparava V'Nasecha. We're thanking Hashem for giving us our life every day. And then, after we have a mitzvah of washing our hands, washing Netilat Yadayim, and I believe that there are washing cups for sale, so you can actually have an official washing cup, or you can do it with any cup. And we wash our hands in the morning. It's a little bit different than the way we wash our hands for bread. We go 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. And after that, we make the bracha. Al Netilat Yadayim. It's the same bracha that we make before we eat bread. What we want to do is we want to take the gift of life and we want to maximize our days and sanctify everything that we do. So we want to take this gift and we want to use it in a way that makes God proud and makes us proud. And so by thinking about this every morning and starting our day with this focus of taking the day, taking everything that we're going to do and sanctifying it and lifting it up, we are going to make the world a better place. We're going to make ourselves better people. So that's, there's more available here in the front. They're on the tables. You can take a look at it. Also, we are hoping to purchase a Bima cover in memory of Haley. So if anybody wants to donate for that, there's a beautiful glass in the front here. And we'd like to hopefully purchase this cover and have it in the shul soon. Okay, now we're going to get on to the more exciting parts of our day. So we all need inspiration in order to stay motivated, excited, and productive. There is tremendous motivation and inspiration that we can gain from things that are around us all the time. In the Modim, the Thanksgiving section of the Amidah, we thank Hashem for His miracles, wonders, and good that is with us every morning, afternoon, and night. But sometimes it's hard for us to focus on that. This morning, we'll have the opportunity to hear first-hand experiences from 3 women and how those experiences have inspired them. Our hope is that we too will be inspired and be better equipped to focus on our own stories of inspiration. Our first speaker is a woman who needs no introduction. Mrs. Gelman, with all that you've endured, and then all that you've built, it's a paragon of strength, commitment, perseverance, dedication, and warmth. We thank you, Mrs. Gelman, for joining us this morning.
Rochelle Gelman. I'm a Holocaust survivor. I was born in Eastern Poland in 1925. The population in our area were mostly Ukrainians, Poles, and Russians. None of them liked the Jews. Most of them were delighted to see what the Nazis did to the Jews during the Holocaust. Some of them were helping the Nazis look for and find Jews in their hiding places. But they were exceptions. There were some righteous Gentiles who risked their own lives and the lives of their families by hiding Jews and their properties. The World War II began in Europe on September 1st, 1939, the day that the Nazis attacked Poland. German leader Adolf Hitler in March made a pact with the Soviet leader Joseph Stalin. Hitler gave to the Soviet Union the eastern part of Poland. So for almost 2 years we were safe from the Nazis. On June 22nd, 1941, the Nazis attacked the Soviet Union. Many young men and some women decided to leave their homes and their families and run east, deep into the Soviet Union, away from the Nazis. There was no public transportation. The trains were full of soldiers. And nobody had a car, because under Soviet occupation, no one was allowed to own private property. The only way to leave was on foot or on bicycles. My brother Elkanah decided to leave. My father was begging him, don't go. You can't possibly survive in a strange country during war. But my brother wouldn't. He knew what the Nazis had in mind for us. My father then turned to my mother and said, "You must say something." And she said, "If I was an 18-year-old boy, I would say." He then turned to me and said, "Rochelle, don't you stay. Leave. Anything is going to be better than the Nazis. Anything." So I told him, he's right. I know you're right, but I cannot leave Mother. I love her too much. As a matter of fact, I cannot imagine life without her. I don't want to live without her, so I'm staying. So he picked up his backpack and jumped on his bicycle and drove. Shortly after that, we heard rumblings from a distance. And those mountains kept on coming closer and closer and closer. And before we knew it, there was fighting in the middle of our town. The two armies were right there, and explosions and shootings around us became very dangerous. And we decided, that is my parents decided, to join a neighbor in his cellar. For 5 days and 5 nights, the fighting was going on. There were explosions all around us. And every time I heard an explosion, I thought the next one will be a direct hit, and we're all going to be killed. I didn't know it then to be killed by a bomb would have been a blessing. Finally, it was quiet. The Soviet army retreated, and my parents and I climbed out from the cellar to go home. We had no home to go to. The house we lived in was demolished. Luckily, my previous house was still there. So we moved in with my Aunt Liba, her husband Chaim, and her daughter Basia. We stayed behind closed doors and locked windows because we didn't know what to expect. And after a couple of weeks, very, very early in the morning, we heard shooting. We were sure that the Soviet army is back and they're going to start fighting again. So we ran outside in order to go into the cellar. Once we were outside, we saw our mistake. There were no Russian soldiers. There were Nazi SS soldiers running around, shooting their rifles in the air and yelling, "Jews, get out, Jews, get out." And before I had a chance to realize what was going on, I was being pushed by one of the soldiers with his rifle. And he was pointing for me to go to the road. When I got closer to the road, I saw people walking. And then I looked at their faces, they were all Jews. Some of them were in their night clothes and barefoot. They were being pulled out from their beds and not allowed to get dressed. And then, as I joined them, I saw a man carrying a girl on his shoulders. I asked the man, I looked at her face, and I saw it was my best friend from school. I asked her father, the man who was carrying her, what happened? And he said she tried to run away, and she was shot in her feet. And they told me that if I don't pick her up and carry her, they're going to shoot her on the spot. So, as there's no way to run away, we were surrounded by soldiers with their rifles aimed at us. And as we were walking, we saw people being pushed out of their homes and told to join us. There were people of all ages, young and old, women, men, and mothers with children of all ages. Some of them were carrying babies and infants. We kept on walking, and more and more people joined us. We walked to the center of town, out to the other side, we walked there, and then, after walking for a while, I saw what looked to me like hundreds of heads, holding shovels, standing waist high. Well, this boat was focused. Suddenly we heard an order, stop. All men walk to the left. My father said, what's good? They're not going to shoot women and children, they're only going to shoot them. very large field they told us to stop. Many old women just sat up and undressed. They were exhausted from the long walk and from the heat of the very hot summer day. There were so many people. It looked to me like thousands. But now we were just the women. Suddenly I heard airplanes. I looked up at the sky for the beautiful blue sky, not a cloud. And I was thinking, am I going to die today? Is this my last day? I don't want to die. I'm too young. I'm only 16 years old. I don't want to die. And then I thought, well, maybe I will not die. Maybe I'll just be in another place. And that thought gave me courage to face whatever was coming. I looked up at my mother's face. She was praying. Her eyes were closed and her mouth was open. I looked at the other women. Some of them were praying, and some were just standing there. Babies and infants were crying, and little children were crying. They were hot, they were thirsty, they were hungry, but there was no food, there was no water, there was no shade. And the mother didn't know how to pacify them. The older children, with 5 and up, were quiet. They were standing holding on to their mothers, looking sad, but they didn't make a sound. As if they knew that something terrible was going to happen. We were standing there for a very, very long time. And then we heard an order, all women and children under 14 walk to the left. My mother said to me, why don't you join a woman with a child of 2? Pretend to be her daughter. Enough you don't know how old you are, just slow. That's and this way you will survive. I said, no, I'm not doing you, but I don't have to put you have to do. She didn't argue because I told there was no guarantee that the children are not going to do. As a matter of fact, or we found out that in the concentration camps, children were the first ones to be killed. So we continued to stay there, and it was quiet. Now, nobody said a word, nobody moved. It looked as if we were already dead. And after a short while, they said all women walk 1 5. My mother pushed me ahead of her, and I followed a woman and kept on walking until we got to what looked to me like a tunnel. There were 2 rows of soldiers facing each other, and we had to walk in between them, and they looked at us. And I walked through with my head down. And when I got to the end of the tunnel, I was told to go left and join a small group of women. I walked over to the group of women and turned around. I was sure that my mother was right behind me, but she wasn't. I looked all around and I couldn't see her. I was ready to run and look for her when somebody grabbed my arm. It was my cousin Beth. She said, let's stay together, let's stay together. And I said to her, I have to find Mother. She said, how can you find Mother? Look, it's thousands of people here, you cannot find your mother. Why don't you stay here on the outside of this small group and she'll find you. I'm sure she's looking for you. Well, my cousin Beth was 5 years older than I, and she was very smart. So I thought that she knows what's best. So I was standing with her and waiting, and then we had an order to walk. We walked. I didn't know where we were going. As a matter of fact, I thought that taking us to concentration camp. But then I realized we are back in town. They took us to the center of town and they told us to go home. I couldn't understand it. Why did they have to bring us out and keep us all day and then tell us to go home? But I didn't ask questions. Beth and I ran as fast as we could home. When we got to the house, we were afraid to walk into it. We thought maybe it's different. So we walked into the cellar and we stayed before the fighting. Nobody was there. We sat down and we were waiting. We were hoping that maybe our parents will also come home. And then I heard shots. Shots from the direction where we came from. And I didn't want to believe it. I tried to deny it, but I knew it in my heart that those shots were killing my parents. Beth and I did.
Beth served as mayor of Irvine from 2004 to 2008. Her sensitivity of the needs of the Jewish community and her willingness to support the Jewish community have been invaluable. Beth, we thank you so much for joining us.
Mrs. Gelman, that's the first time anybody ever had to lift the microphone so that I could get to it. So you've given me a gift today. Thank you. Made me feel a little taller. I'm so touched by your story, so humbled by it. Somewhat have some trepidation about following it because a story like that is a story that can't be rivaled, but you know, that you are part of this community and that you and your husband have given so much to this community is a gift to all of us. So thank you. And thank you for sharing your story. It's an honor to be with you all today. I've written out my remarks. Some of you know that I don't have any difficulty speaking extemporaneously, but if you tell me that I only have 20 minutes, then I do feel like I have to write out my remarks. I also, when Beverly Lieberman invited me to be part of this, I was very honored. I was also mindful that yesterday was the 6th anniversary of us losing our son. And part of me wanted to decline the invitation because I really didn't know whether I could trust my emotions. They told me I was going to be following Mrs. Gelman. I would have known I couldn't trust my emotions. But I also felt that it was an opportunity to be part of something that was very affirmative and that I should say yes. So thank you very much for inviting me to be with you today. Many of you know our story. When it comes to twists and turns, nothing will ever come close to getting the news that our bright, handsome, witty, and beloved son Noah, then 22, died from an accidental fall from the cliffs near his apartment in Isla Vista, the student community adjacent to UC Santa Barbara, just 1 week before he was to graduate. He had finished his last final that day on June 5th, and he was very excited to graduate. Being on the city council at the time, I had finished my second term as mayor the previous November, and so this was a time when I was free to begin thinking about his graduation. My last official act was to be opening the Relay for Life, which actually was this weekend as well, at Irvine Valley College. And as I was preparing to leave the opening ceremonies and heading to the parking lot, an Irvine police officer intercepted me. As a council member, this did not in any way raise any red flags for me. The police were part of the community, and I saw that Mayor Kang was standing nearby, and the officer said that the chief of police wanted to meet with us in a nearby building. As we entered through the front doors, Mayor Kang was taken to the left as I was guided into a room to the right. Little did I know I was stepping across the threshold to what would be the worst day of my life. 6 years later, it still seems incomprehensible. Noah's energy was a force that punctuated every conversation, every family gathering, every moment for which he was present, and his greatest legacy is that he is remembered with smiles. I was accustomed to holding everybody else up. Does that sound familiar? Like so many of us who are daughters, sisters, mothers, wives, caregivers, and community leaders, I rarely said no and almost never asked for help. In fact, I took a fair amount of pride in my ability to keep all of my plates spinning, foregoing sleep and self-care in order to continually hit the extraordinarily high bar that I had set for myself in my head. Someone I was introduced to who analyzed personalities and gave me a little test once told me that I had a script in my head and nobody was ever playing the parts the way I wanted them to. And I thought absolutely that's an apt description. Often I would feel resentful that my extraordinary contributions at whatever level were not being acknowledged or repaid, that there was no reciprocity. That I was in effect dancing with myself. But what I now see is that I was creating contracts in my head that other people never knew they were a party to. The awareness I have about myself is so much greater today than ever before. The sad part of that is that it took Noah's death to get me to take the time work through the patterns of my life and understand how all of those dots connected. It has been both fascinating and frustrating, but in the end, it is the enlightenment and peace it has brought me that I am most grateful for. Those who know our family also know that we had already been dealt a significant challenge when in 1996, at the age of 41, my husband Solly was diagnosed neurological condition that affected his mobility, his balance, his speech, and left him permanently disabled. An optometrist, Solly had worked hard to build up his practice across from UCI. In the months following his diagnosis, he found it increasingly difficult to manage his routines and to serve his patients. When he fell backward onto the slab floor of his lab one day, we knew he would have to stop working. It just wasn't safe. There we were, 3 kids, aged 7, 9, and 11, a practice to sell, an uncertain future, and no clear sense of how Solly's condition would progress. What I did not realize until I was taken down by grief after Noah's death was that I had grieved before. Not for the loss of a person. Until Noah's death, I had not lost any close family. But the loss of the life we thought we were going to have, the loss of Solly's profession, the loss of a sense of security or any notion of certainty. Herschel, our youngest, was in 1st grade when Solly stopped working. Noah was in 3rd, Abby in 5th. I was 38 years old, Solly was 42. It was a little more than 13 years into our marriage and 9 years after Solly had opened his practice. I remember thinking that I wanted the kids to learn that life can hand you a new set of plans, and you can find a way to negotiate the curve. What I can tell you is that as mothers, we have a well of strength from which we draw. We all have it, we all need it, and we all use it. On a daily basis, I reached into that well and somehow over the next decade, managed to keep all the plates spinning as our kids each made it through high school. It was in 2000, just 3 years after Solly stopped working, that I decided to run for city council. My motivation was the threat of the El Toro airport plan. I was not someone who had always dreamed of a life in politics, but I've always been an advocate and a fighter, and I have to say that my leadership skills were largely developed in the Jewish community as a teenager in BBYO and as a young woman in Hadassah. But then I started going to city council meetings, and I saw a city council mouthing words but lacking the vision, the passion, and the determination to get the job done. I figured if I waited for someone else to do something, it might be too late. So 4 days before the filing deadline, 2000, I threw my hat into the ring. If you ask me how I managed to keep Solly active, engaged, and relatively independent, in all 3 of our children through high school and college run 7 political campaigns, including 2 for mayor and 1 for Congress these past 20 years, I'm not sure I could easily form my thoughts into words. I did not have the luxury of time to think. I saw the task at hand, and retreat was not an option. Over and over again, I dipped into the well. In December of 2008, I turned 50. I had never feared aging, and in fact, I imagined life would get more interesting after 50. I just never stopped to think about the many ways the word interesting could be defined. It was just 6 months later, when we lost Noah in June of 2009. I was 3 months into my congressional campaign. When people ask how I managed to continue the campaign after Noah's death, I tell them that Noah was my most uniquely political child. When I was thinking of running for Congress, I asked my daughter Abby, the oldest, I'm thinking of running for Congress, what do you think? She said, is it going to require anything of me? And I said no. And she said, mazel tov. I asked my youngest, Herschel, what he thought about me running for Congress. He said, I don't even know what you're talking about. I thought, well, then it's probably not going to be an issue for you. And I asked Noah, I'm thinking of running for Congress, what do you think? And he said, you should do it. He actually said, kick his ass, but I don't want you to remember Noah that way. But he had that spirit in him. And I think we all have children who seem to understand us, and Noah was definitely that child for me. You know, the one thing you should never ask a candidate is, do you think you could win? You can't run a campaign without a measure of faith, and of course, candidates do get asked that question, as I was many times. We knew it was a long shot, but we also knew the district deserved real representation. Since people do ask whether you think you can win, you need a pithy answer. And so I would tell people, if they asked, I know that Noah's got my back. The truth is, Noah did have my back. I have no regrets about losing that race. In fact, if I had won, there would have been no space to grieve. And without grieving, there would have been no healing. I credit my daughter Abby with pushing me to get therapy after Noah's death. I had never gotten therapy, not for anything. Not when Solly got sick, not when I was a young adult dealing with many things. She was 24 when Noah died. About 6 months after his death, she asked, have you gotten therapy? When I said no, she said, well, you need it. And so I set upon looking for a referral. Several months later, Mother's Day weekend, we were with her, and she said to me, have you gotten therapy? And I said, no, but I really appreciate your concern, and I am collecting business cards, and she just put her hand up, and she said, don't even talk to me until you get therapy. The next week, somebody handed me a card, and it turned out to be a wonderful therapist. And I have to say, say for anybody in this room who's never gotten therapy, it is the greatest gift I've given myself. And while I thought that it would be like popping a champagne cork, because I might be going because of Noah's death, but there were a lot of things I had tucked away and buried, always sort of being proud of myself for finding another little hole I tuck something away from here. The truth is that everything that I've learned is connected. Therapy wasn't so much about Noah's death as about understanding who I was, how I became who I was, how his death affected me, why it affected me the way it affected me, why other things had affected me the way they had affected me. So I do want to give credit to my daughter Abby for her tenacity. Last year, Abby graduated with a master's in psychology, and soon she will qualify to get licensed as a marriage and family therapist. I tell people the 28 years she spent analyzing every single thing I did and said is now going to be put to very good practical use. It's a strange thing that when those that we give birth to grow up and become our sources of wisdom and strength. Our greatest hope in the wake of Noah's death was that Abby and Herschel would not have their own lives derailed by the experience. 6 years later, it gives me great comfort to see that they are both leading lives that bring them joy and satisfaction. Grief has been a painful yet enlightening journey. Noah has been my greatest teacher. I have learned the value of being fully present, the importance of self-care, and just how little in life we truly control. That said, the price for the knowledge acquired will never seem like a fair trade. There is an expression, man plans and God laughs. I was always looking ahead, planning, stressing, worrying, what I wouldn't give to get all that time and energy back. Before Noah died, I thought I could make the world bend to my will. The universe tried to disabuse me of that notion many times, but I would not listen. It took Noah's death to break down my resistance, to humble me, and to wake me up to the reality that life is fragile and each moment a precious gift. A friend of mine told me, when your heart breaks, make sure it breaks open. I know that even in the midst of tragedy, there is space for gratitude. How fortunate we have been to draw strength and comfort from family, friends, and community. When I couldn't fill my own well, I would draw from theirs. One of the ways that I have processed my feelings, thoughts, and ideas throughout my life is by writing, and often through verse. So I'd like to close with a verse I wrote several months ago that weaves with words the journey I have been on for the last 6 years. On the day that Noah fell, I was taken down as well. My life, our lives, forever changed. Broken bits, now rearranged. I didn't think we could survive. I didn't want to be alive. I told myself, be strong for others. Isn't that our job as mothers? Where once I had the strength to lift, survival instinct, nature's gift, now surrendered, arms extended, not as strong as I pretended. To lose a child, our precious son, cast into the darkness, unraveled, undone, pulled under, submerged, then hit wave upon wave. No parent expects to lay their child in a grave. Almost 6 years now passed, and yes, life does proceed. Grateful our daughter first planted the seed, insisting that I should get much needed care, seek a therapist's help, open up, finally share. Raw feelings exposed, guilt, anger, fears, emotions released through an ocean of tears, retracing the details, connecting the dots, reliving the story, the who's, when's, and what's. The pain never leaves and the wound never heals, the loss never easy. But grief's journey reveals so many things that have left me enlightened, viewing life through new eyes, not so easily frightened. I know what's worth time and who's really a friend. See how those we have lost do beyond life extend. Their influence, love, marks they left while alive, teach us deep, profound lessons, help us learn to survive. So much more aware, looking back, I can see how old pains I had buried, wound up limiting me. Not just masking my pain, but in truth so much more. For to choose not to feel is like locking a door, which not only holds back feelings painful and real, but also those things that can help one's heart heal. like creative expression, joy, laughter, and fun, deep human emotions, and the warmth of the sun. While I thought I had time and let all my distractions, commitments, beliefs bring on stress-filled reactions, I see those that we love and the children we care for need so much more attention, not just someday prepared for. Grieving parents I've met will express with regret that the greatest of lessons through our loss did we get. To not take time for granted, think that life can be planned, trust that children are safe, make our dreams for them grand. Do not live for tomorrow, for it may not arrive. Value each precious moment of each day we're alive. For as I look back, though I wanted the best for my children, my family, life was needlessly stressed, sweating the small stuff and missing so much. What I now wouldn't give for just one hug or touch. A random discussion, time together, just fun, holding Noah's sweet face. But those days are now done. All those years looking forward to things that might be. Graduation, profession, would he someday marry? Fitting life into molds, serving outside demands, playing roles, playing games, thinking life must be planned. What I'd give for one moment being fully aware, free of needless distractions, having Noah right there. He does come in dreams, though not often enough, and then poof, he is gone, making waking up tough. Almost 6 years without him, it is hard to believe each day of this journey I must find time to grieve. For mourning a child who by death's grip was taken is like living a nightmare from which we never awaken. Yet grieving has left me enlightened and changed, my pieces though broken and all rearranged, are so much more aware, more engaged and discerning, more grateful, more present, more open to learning. It is wisdom acquired at a terrible cost, but without learning something, then the lives of those lost would not be fully honored, so I'm showing more grace. Value time in the present and creating the space to live out my life more open, aware, embracing family and friends and the time that we share, using my talents, seeking new ways to grow, avoiding people who drain me, and just letting go. Near 6 years on this journey and a lifetime to go.
Thank you. Boy, when I get home, I call my children, tell them how much I love them. Thank you.
Very much. This is Rochelle Gelman, president of Beth Women, and I'm not going to make it very many This is a day of inspiration, but Beth said, we don't take life for granted. That do not take life for granted. Because I agree with you. We are having two meetings with Rebbetzin Women. It's Tuesday night. We are having an amazing speaker who is sitting right here. Her name is Rebbetzin Natalie Ciner. She is part of the project with Segall project. She will be talking speaking at Karen Wolf's house. Wolf's house, 4345 Segall, Tuesday at 8 p.m. If you forget that, I'm sending an email to most of you, but not everybody's email is on the list. I'm sorry, but speak to me afterwards. We love to have you. This is really, really special. 8 o'clock Tuesday night. She is going to be talking about our Polish taboos. And she's knowledgeable, warm, educated, amazing speaker. And we have a treasure in our community. The other thing is on Saturday, Shabbos, June 20th at 5 o'clock, also in Karen's house. Thank you, Karen. We're going to have a women's mincha party, just women, okay? You're all invited. Really wonderful. So I want to thank you. This has been so far fabulous. And thank you very much. Bye. You don't have to walk.
Okay, enjoy your salad, or we continue. We need to fill ourselves a little bit.
Debbie will be speaking June 16th, Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. June 16th, 4345 December, 8 o'clock.
There's a washing station outside. Please, if you're going to eat bread, go and wash. Like we were saying, let's uplift the state by doing something positive, doing a mitzvah. So the washing stations are outside. You have some bread. longstanding member of the Irvine community. Though I haven't had the opportunity to get to know her well, I have had the pleasure of spending significant time developing a close relationship with her daughter Amy that started in preparation for her wedding and continues until this day. Amy speaks proudly of her mother's community involvement, her spearheading the OCU Colibate, and many other functions, and we look forward to hearing her story.
Can you hear me? So the people at the back, when you can't hear me, because I know it's been a couple of waves. So I have two little stories to tell. It's going to cut into my 20 minutes, but I'm cutting it anyway. For those of you that know me, I'm a little bit weird. I believe that the people that must come to visit us and they're here with me. So while I'm on my spin bike this morning, I'm saying to my father and my mother, you know, if you're here, flash the lights in the room so I'll know. And I'm laughing as I'm teaching my class, thinking these stupid thoughts to myself. The lights aren't even on, right? You can't take the sunglasses off because the dark has to be on because I can't see. I left my other glasses at home. They're here, they're visiting with me. So the sunglasses aren't off because then I can't see my writing. And Beth was also a genius because she made her writing in big things. I did these stupid small writings. So here we go. It was a hell of a thing. Beth asked me to talk at this event probably 6 months ago. Yes, of course I will, no problem. Until it came to actually doing it. And then you have to think, well, this and that, and then the panel that I'm on with, oh my goodness. So, I'm talking about a very similar topic, but from a different perspective. I'm in a room full of people that have had stuff, and so I'm asking you to take it with a pinch of salt, what I say, and I hope I'm not going to offend anyone. Life's a journey, live it. And we've had two women before here showing us exactly how that's done. Here's my take. The definition of a journey is the act of traveling from one place to another. You have a starting point, you have an ending point. And in between, there are a series of adventures. Things that happen. Some that are in our control, and some of them that are out of our control. And the experiences that we get from those adventures, and the connections that we make, and the music we listen to. If you know me, I listen to music all the time, and I'm always moving. Love dancing. So consider this visual. Each of us. We're going on a foot journey. We're starting in California, and we're going to end up in New York. Foot journey all the way. There are many different routes to take, and each route has obstacles. Okay? The choice is, which way are you going to go? Are you taking the scenic route? Are you taking the freeway? Or are you taking the road with potholes? Either way, we will get to New York. There are two rules. No backtracking and no do-overs. Just as there are lessons and memories from the journey, I'm calling them insights, retrospectively, from all the stages of our lives. Some are from our own experiences, but many, if we are open to it, we have the privilege of learning from other people's journeys. Along the way, we reinvent ourselves, continuously and in relation to our circumstances. The idea is to be aware of it and make the changes more consciously than unconsciously. So I'm going to weave it from the early years. We are molded by our parents, or the community, the people that raise us. And it's at this stage of our life that many of our subconscious belief systems are set in. Okay? Many of them serve us, but there are a lot of them that fail us. So let's just go with two examples. The one example, children of the Depression. Okay, parents of the Depression. These children either grow up very thrifty, because they do things for themselves, because why pay someone else, or they grow up really good with money because they learned not to spend more than they earn. Pay as you go, and if you can't pay, don't go. Something else, closer to home. Carbs as a trigger. Okay? Parents control our food choices, much the same as we control our children. Okay? And we control them, or they will control out of love. You know that. One child will say she feels different to the other children because why was she always pointed out and singled out, and she feels therefore unloved. Other children will say that they had a good grounding in what was good health and good nutrition and take that on in their life. Same event, different experiences. Let's move to our school words. Remember those? How many of us have heard from our children and we said, why bother with school? What are we going to learn there? Well, we learn socialization. We learn how to be a friend. We learn about compassion, support, and truth. Math teaches us logic and reason. We learn work ethic. On the negative side, we also get inhibitions and labels. In the room, how many of you are uncoordinated? Come on, raise your hands. Somebody once laughed at us. And we never ever did it again because we never wanted to be that person again. Okay? How many of you are labeled arty, or sporty, or brainy, and because you were one of those, you couldn't be any of the others? We learn that success is not guaranteed, even with effort. It has to be the right effort at the right time. We learn it's okay to fail, to re-strategize, and to take help when it's offered, and then to try again. All important lessons, and I believe if you don't learn the lesson then, life will keep teaching you until you do. Let's move to our higher education. That's when we learn our skills. I got introduced to the marvel of the human body in my second year at university. And for me, that was a God moment. When I saw the same stupid little nerve coming out between the same fibers of the muscle in every person, it thrilled me. For me, I was lucky enough to meet my life partner in that time. And he's been one of my favorite adventures. My stability, my wings, and everything in between. And I'm lucky for that. Higher education, also that time, we learn about freedom and responsibility and how they coexist together. Let's move along to career. We spend so much of our life and our lives at work. Best option is to find something you love and then be able to make a business out of it. I lucked out. What can I say? I'm just the happiest little camper. I never go to work one day not wanting to be there. My passion for the body blended with my physical therapy, blended with my exercise and all the other things I do. But sometimes we don't get to do what we like. So we have to learn to like what we get, or make the necessary changes. It's all about your attitude, and for the most part, not all of it, but the most part, it's yours to choose. Again, reinvention. We reinvent and reinvent. We do it so many times. The question is it conscious or is it unconscious? Success and loss. We learn this in the career. Success, and the career doesn't define you. You are who you are without your career. So we know people who have lost jobs or who have retired, haven't been retired jobs, the same thing. The same success and loss has the potential to teach you great lessons about yourself. I say, surround yourself with the people that see your potential and wish your growth. The really, really great people want you to succeed, even when you have no idea where you can go. In South Africa, I was in the exercise industry, and the year before I left, I landed up presenting 5 sessions at the biggest exercise conventions. I had no idea that little Shana would ever be that. People around me lifted me up. The insight is, expect more from yourself. This is a Relay for Life thing, because I normally have a team, because we can. We can. Making a home along our way. Deciding where you want to live and moving according to your circumstances. Your husband needs to move, whatever. A lot of us in the room have emigrated. I told my husband, I never wanted to leave South Africa. I was very happy with my mother and my sister. Give me 2 minutes of ours. And I told him that if God wanted me to go, God would give me a sign. And he called me at work one day and he said, sit down, because God just gave you a green card. You won the green card lottery. So I'm in America. That, however, came a whole lot of reinvention. I had written my physical therapy exam here in 1993. When I called in 1999, apparently I hadn't paid a fee, so there was nothing I could do. I could not practice as a physical therapist unless I started at the beginning. As I said, in the exercise industry, I was a big fish in a little sea. Here I was a little fish in a huge sea. It was a rough ride. We're busy on it. So now let's weave the same thing, relationships. I'm going to start with the relationship with God. Because whatever that means for you, for me, it gives me a sense of knowing and a value system. But I know it's a personal thing and it's different for everybody. Move to our parents, your relationship with your parent. It's where it all starts, and then the circle goes and we become parents again. I'm not filling in that stuff. Okay? About our parents, we realize that our parents are human. That's a day. And that they'll not be there with you forever. That's a day. And watching your parents get old, they parent you, and then you parent them. Your spouse. How many times do we reinvent ourselves along that route? First we were this girl, and then we were a young married girl, and then we were the girl with the small kids, and then we were the girl with the older kids, and then we were the girl with the kids who don't want us anymore, and then we're the girl with the kids have left, and there's nobody at home, and we're left with him again. Hopefully we like him. Divorce or loss, that's a whole new reinvention. And how to cope with an illness, or as Beth was saying, when things change in your life. My husband had a not scary tumor in a really scary place, sort of where my fingers meet here. And he had to have that out. And it was a really scary thing because it was almost brain surgery, but not quite. My thing was, I didn't tell, I hardly told anybody about the severity of it because I believe that thoughts become things, and when you start spreading things, people think that, oh my goodness, and I couldn't have any oh my goodnesses. So I told very few people that when they saw him after the surgery, they were like, you never said. My husband's fantastic. One step at a time, literally one step at a time, because he lost his balance for probably a good 6 weeks. He's back up his ladders, life is good. Raising children and being a parent. We could go on for hours and hours and hours. They're our greatest source of joys and heartaches, and probably our best teachers. And as they say, you're only as happy as your unhappiest child. I always told my children my job as a parent was to protect them, first within my arms, and then with skills, so that they can do it themselves. And then we have to relinquish control, because there comes a point that our children make their own choices. So here's my story. God really mixed it up for me. I could just imagine him sitting upstairs with all the little dominoes in place and like just moving a few and thinking, well, let's see how she copes with this. And he gave me a super Jew and a lesbian. My super Jew, my older daughter Amy, went to college, San Diego State, for a social life. It worked out. She's married to a lovely man. The two of them went to Israel to study together, and she said, no, we're not going to get too religious, Mom, don't worry. Well, she came back very different. And I have to tell you, it was challenging, challenging, challenging. I know everybody says, well, rather religion than drugs. Yes. But oi. She had new mentors. I didn't know if I approved of them. In fact, I didn't. I didn't like them. I didn't know where the information was coming from. It was so different to mine. She was pretty judgmental. Our value system was challenged. And for a long time, we felt betrayed and abandoned. And in retrospect, so did she. Okay? At one point, we made a decision. Our daughter is in our life on her terms. Whichever those were, because that was my choice, that or that. We're good. We're great. My younger daughter, I knew long before she did. But I do remember the day driving over the 405 freeway when I said, are you sure, Gabby? And she said, well, Mom, I need to talk to you about something. Eddie was out of town, and I remember I was driving to shul, and I sat there, and I don't know if you know, Chabad is that little window at the top of the trees. I gazed at that window because I knew, but I now had to find something to do with the information. When Eddie came back, my mistakes with my child was she told her father and she told her sister. I would never, ever, 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 and I say that ever, ever, recommend you to do that to your kid. When they come and tell you that they're gay, you have to know for sure they mean it, and they shouldn't have to say it again because it's heart-wrenching. If you protect your child, I should have stood in front of her. When she told my husband, got out the collar in the garage, just wrapped his arms around and said, you're the same Gabby as you were yesterday. And I think that was the moment I cried. Then it was my coming out. My coming out, I was at a friend's house for dinner, nice square table, and a friend leaned over and she said, so, has Gabby got a girlfriend, a boyfriend? And in my head I'm thinking, is it my moment, do I like him? And I reached and I said, actually, Gabby's gay. Well, went around the whole table, but I must say, it was freedom. I was free. I was holding on to a secret that I wasn't even ashamed of. So that was a good thing. I missed out something very important when I started talking about children. I have two amazing women that I love. I I respect them, and am proud of who they are and what they do in this world. Community, moving along. Surround yourself with the people who support you, elevate you, and wish for your success. I live amongst that community. I have such a broad community from all the people I know, and I live there. It's a happy place. I have learned so many valuable lessons from the dear special people that God assigned me. Our special community has had to deal with so much sadness over the past few years. Dealing with overwhelming loss of children, dealing with health issues, dealing with addictions and financial strains. And as individuals and as a community, we are devastated for their pain and suffering. But we have seen heart, we have seen compassion, we have seen kindness, and we have seen support. And then there was the Chalabake. For the woman that started that journey in that little room, to stand and look at the 800 people, I don't know if there's a word I can say, so I'm going to stop there and say we saw community, we saw greater community. We saw them all come together, we saw light and joy and unity and soul. It was pretty incredible. Now let's move along to the relationship with yourself. You know, that same person that you've got to take with you on the whole bloody journey. I spend a lot of time here with the work I do. So I'm going to just give you some pointers. Be generous to yourself. Treat yourself and talk to yourself as you would talk to your child. You would never look at the mirror as your child walks past and say, ugh, you look disgusting today. Okay? Never. Be nice. Look after your body. It's your vessel for the entire journey. Treat it as such and commit yourself to it. Commit. Make sure you get enough sleep. Feed your body, because you cannot run a healthy body on dirty fuel. You know how they tell you that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon? What a lie. At the end of a marathon is a finish line, and it's only 40 whatever mile long. This is for your whole life. The end is New York, people, New York. Find a method that you can live by. Live in health rather than on diet. If you're on diet, you'll go off it. Move your body. Take a walk on the beach, hike up a mountain, run on the road, ride around the lake, do Zumba or just dance. Play a sport, stretch, weight train, do Pilates or yoga. Work on your posture always, straight up, all of you, up. Make sure you can get down and up from the floor. It's how you're going to play with your children and your grandchildren, and it's how you're going to get up after a fall. Make sure you can. Do something with your body and get your body all in. Control your thoughts and your self-talk. That's your music on the inside. Somebody once said, I thought it was brilliant, thoughts are just a collection of words strung together and attached to a past experience. Change your thoughts. Change the past experience. Meditate for 5 minutes a day. I know it sort of seems impossible. How many people here meditate? Drive your car and think of just the light in front of you. I mean, just check out for a minute. Breathe. At 3 o'clock every day, my telephone gives me a reminder. It says, 3 breaths, here, now. I breathe in, I say here. I breathe out, I say here. Now. 3 times. Here and now. So when someone says, do you breathe every day? Oh, yes, I do. Do you take time to meditate? Oh, yes, I do. Try it. Control your stress level. Learn when to say no. We're all so good at saying yes. But if you really get good at saying no, your yeses will be so much better. You control your response in any given situation. Determine what you want to focus your energy on, because thoughts become things. If you think bad thoughts, that's what you're putting the energy into. If you just change it a little bit, put the good thought in, that's what you're putting your energy into. In any given situation, you have a decision. Are you going to contribute to it, or contaminate it? It's your choice. We are all judgmental. The person on the left, the person on the right, every one of us is judgmental. Temper it, because as you to someone else, someone is to you. Be nice. Learn to say, now I'm going to take one thing I just love. One of my favorite sayings ever. In between stimulus and response is a space. In that space lies your power and freedom of choice. And in your choices lies your freedom. Some choices, people. Let's just set manageable goals. We always set the goal that's so big. I want to lose 60 pounds. How about I want to see 10 pounds down, or 5 pounds down, or 2 pounds down by the end of the week. Manageable. And then set in an action plan to get that going. And weight is not the only goal that I ever think about, honestly. You know that setting goals is 80% psychology and 20% action? As Beth said, invest in yourself. Go and find someone to help you work out why your psychology is stopping you from moving to get what you want. Be present. Embrace the good moments and protect yourself from those that are not so good. Spend some time in nature. It's a necessity, not a luxury. Face your fears. Fears will stop you from getting anywhere you want to go. And you know that the two basic fears are I am not enough and I am not loved. Those are the two basic fears. Fear is pretty much your friend. It's showing you of the danger. You have to learn to dance with your fear, to say, thank you very much, I no longer need you. I've got this covered. What you think about grows in your heart and your mind. Take mentors, take mentors, take mentors. Look for clarity and acknowledge your truth. The one truth is the number on the scale, please just know it, moving along. Strengths and how to use them to your advantage. You know what your strengths are, you've got to use them. Weaknesses. Either fix them or get someone else to do it for you. I hate billing. I hate billing. Someone is going to do my billing for me. Know your excuses. Do you know that there are, one guy once wrote a book about excuses, and there are basically 18 excuses. Only 18. Funny about that 18 number, huh? And we all have one or two of those excuses. And if you look at what's stopping you going forward, it's just one or two of those. The same one. If you feel like something is missing in your life, people, it's usually you. I don't know if you've ever heard of the poem The Dash by Linda Ellis. I'm going to read it for you. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came her date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But what he said most of all, but he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time she spent alive on earth. And now only those who love her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we owe, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. And if you could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way the other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that the special dash might only last a while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent that dash? In closing, for those of you who know me know I love a road trip, which means I probably like the journey. Plan your route. Be open to making detours. Take your best people with you. Put on a playlist, a great one, and enjoy the ride. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shana. I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm going to get to eat. I want to thank everybody who helped to put this beautiful day together. And I hope that you go home inspired, realizing that we are physical and spiritual beings, and that we do need to feed our physical self and our spiritual self. And I think today has given us some tools to do so. Enjoy the rest of your morning.